Be here with you again tonight. Tonight, I can promise you that I will behave myself because we're very, very serious people this evening. This evening, we're having a conversation about women in business and entrepreneurship. We're talking breaking loose or keep fighting. And over the past few weeks, we've heard so many stories, as always, of women who are trying to do amazing things and keep on hitting some sort of ceiling, some man made, some woman made, some children made, some politically made, some society made. There's always something that we have to overcome. And we thought, why don't we sort of get an update on what it's like in the entrepreneurial world for women out there? So this week, that's what we're talking about this week. And today I have two very lovely ladies, Lady Sam, who's a marketing manager and life coach, and Regina Honu, who's the CEO of Stronko Academy. Regina will be joining us by Zoom, and Lady Sam is here with us in the studio. So remember that you can be interactive with us. We're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and on Twitter. So we'd love if you got interactive with us. Also, our WhatsApp lines are open, 055 1111997, 055 997. So you can send us a message. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. And maybe at some point we'll open the phone lines so that you can get your thoughts and your questions in. But let's get straight into it. This is Strong and Sassy here on Joy 99.7 FM. Welcome. My name is Animwaa Anim-addo, and we'll be doing this for the next 51 minutes. So let me say good evening to my guests. Hello, Lady Sam.
Hello, Animwaa. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So good to see you.
And good to see you too.
Awesome. And let's say hello to Regina, who's joining us on Zoom. Hello, Regina.
Hello, Animwaa. I hope you're well.
Okay, awesome. We can hear you well. If I can just get some volume in the studio. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time this evening. I know you're both busy women and you could easily be in bed chilling. So I appreciate your time. So let's get straight into the conversation. Women entrepreneurs, breaking loose or keep fighting. What's it like these days out there? We've had this conversation, a number of times, and, you hear different aspects of the problem. I think tonight we kind of want to find out, is it getting better? Is it the same? What's it like? What's it been like for you from when you started till now? Do you find that there's been improvement, there's some changes, there's something worth, being excited about?
Okay, so let me just say good
No
evening.
positivity.
But then you've already broken the conversation for me. So anyway, so good evening to your listeners and viewers, and thank you for having me on the show. Yes, I'm busy, but I think it's a pleasure to be on the show. So the first thing I want to say is, yes, my name is Lady Sam. I am a marketer. I'm also a life coach, and that's the capacity in which I'm here today.
Yeah.
So that's why you said
No
no
positivity.
positivity. But we can't help it, right? Because
No,
at the end of the day, yes, there is a reality of a situation, but we like to look at opportunities. We're talking about entrepreneurship, right? And we know the genesis of the conversation. We don't have to go there. We're not going to politicize it this evening. But at the end of the day, this thing called entrepreneurs, I mean, let's also start off by saying or defining what is an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, as far as Lady Sam is concerned, is somebody who sets up a business or businesses in the hope of making profit, and they're the one that takes on the financial loss. Now, why do they do that? There could be many reasons. It could be because they've identified a gap. They have a particular skill set. There are many reasons, but I hope this summarizes, at least from my view, what an entrepreneur is. Now, the thing is, as an entrepreneur, we normally think of people like the likes of Bill Gates, maybe the likes of Richard Branson, those
Mark
type of...
Zuckerberg.
There you go, Zuckerberg, him, people like that. But we should remember that there are different levels of success when it comes to entrepreneurship. And it's not new in our country. So when you ask, is it getting better? We've always, as far as I'm concerned, we've always had entrepreneurs. You just need to go down the high road in the morning to work. You see these hawkers. Are they not entrepreneurs? It is hard, but if you listen, I mentioned Richard Branson, all right? If you listen to his story, he will tell you he's had many failures. It is being an entrepreneur means you will have to take risks. sometimes you will fail. It is not easy, but I believe that there's a reward in persevering. So I guess it depends on the person you are speaking to, because perspective counts. But for me, I would say it's always important to look at the end goal. Sometimes you will fall, but you need to get up. That's my positivity speaking.
Yeah,
I know it
I
is.
can hear it.
Right? But you need to keep going. Like I said, as I started, and you hear it throughout, it's actually about opportunities. I'm here, but how do I get there? For me, I believe that's the mindset, and that will help. You're not living in denial, right? We are facing reality, but what can we do in this reality? That's how I would.
That's
like
how
to-
you see it. Okay. All
yeah.
right. Regina, how about you? I mean, I know that you've been, in business for yourself for a long time. Before we get into the conversation proper, is it getting better? Is it getting easier?
So I don't think it ever gets easier, because when you reach a new dimension or a new stage or a new level in the business, that it comes with its own unique set of challenges, right? What I do think is happening now is there is a lot more conversation around, support for entrepreneurs, as opposed to when I started out a couple of years ago. And also there is, like, if you look at the ecosystem now, there are lots more incubators, accelerators. Even the venture capital space is also growing, even though there are some issues, like there needs to be like gender lens investing. In terms of the different industries, like you see now that if you look at things like the fintech space, and all these other different industries, they're getting like a lot of attention. Generally, I would say that there have been some positives in terms of the enabling business environment, but there's still so much that needs to happen for an individual to go from idea to market. Right. So it isn't always that clear cut, it isn't always that simple. There's also a lot that needs to do, that one needs to do in order to sensitize their market and to understanding like the value of the service that they have to provide. And you have to understand that the Ghanaian market in itself is a small market, right? Like our population is 33 or 31 million. And so if you are just focusing solely here, it also comes with the limit of how big the market is. So you also have to be thinking about how do you expand your market access, market reach, and how do you stand out? Because also that's the other challenge. Once there is a space that a lot of people are making it, like, typically what we'll see, if one person wakes up in the morning and starts selling bread and the bread is doing well, when you wake up the next morning, there are 10 people selling the same type of bread.
Yeah.
Because it's like they realize that, okay, so as soon as there's a space that seems to be doing well, like an entrepreneur that, it works in a particular area, you see a lot more people either trying to copycat that idea, which is also another challenge, because you'll have to have your unique selling point or what makes you different, or you see a lot more people just sort of gravitating into that space without really thinking about the strategy or how they can attract the right customer, how to properly market them. So I would say that things have gotten better from when I started, but we still have a lot more to do to create a more enabling environment for entrepreneurs, and not only in the capital, because once you go outside of Accra and you go into the regions, that's also a different story. So how do we also level the playing field such that opportunity is not even just concentrated in particular areas, but it's evenly distributed for everyone to benefit?
Okay. Great stuff there, Regina. So I want us to kind of just move the conversation from general to being women.
Sure.
Because this is Strong and Sassy, and it's, about women, for women, even though the men really enjoy it. I think they enjoy it a little bit too much. So I feel like, if you wanted to be an entrepreneur maybe 20 years ago as a woman, the challenges that you may have faced then may be a little bit different from the challenges that you may face now. In that same vein, some would be the same, but maybe there are a lot more or a few more, whatever, differences that have come about because of all the developments and the way the world has gone. a few weeks ago, and this is not politicizing the conversation, it's just, stating a fact that we've been asked by the government to be more entrepreneurial because, there are no jobs, so people should kind of just get, innovative, think of what they can do and, kind of do them so that there's not so much pressure on those who are in charge. What does it take in this day and age to succeed, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a female entrepreneur?
That's a big question. Okay, I would say the first thing I want to say, I'm actually going to start from entrepreneur. Yes, we are speaking to women, but it's something, you said it earlier on, men listen to this conversation as well, so they'll get something.
Yeah, but it's for the women.
It's for primarily,
Yeah.
primarily for the women.
Yeah.
One thing I would say, there are definitely characteristics of an entrepreneur, right? You have to be somebody who knows how to take risk, but calculated risks. Depending on what you are offering, your goods or your service, you have to always think of your consumer and what you're offering them. I mean, as I don't know if we mentioned it earlier on, but I'm a customer service trainer. So it's customer is king. It's been said 20 years ago, you mentioned, and it's said now, and it's the reality. In terms of being an entrepreneur and a woman, you mentioned being a woman because we know, at least in this part of the world, they have so many hats they wear. They are mothers, they are wives, they are sisters, they work as well. They have so many things on their plates. So what does it take? It takes grit. It takes, your message here is saying women entrepreneurs break loose or keep fighting. It takes somebody who can fight. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday just about the word fight, and not that they knew I was coming on the show or anything. And they were saying to me that in the Bible, the word fight comes up at least 170 times. That's a lot of times. And what does fight mean? It means to overcome. It means that, there's a struggle. So to be a woman, it means you, and to be an entrepreneur, if we're talking about to play both roles, if I can put it like that. I had a bit of a tongue twister there. So.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. To play both roles, like I said, you have to be somebody who is a fighter. So you need to believe in what it is you are doing, but also you need to lean on the support system that you have. All right, because we know that there are some women out there, I know them personally, who want to do it all, but you can't do everything all at once. You can't. So let's leverage on the support system you have. So you have to be somebody who knows who is in their network and knows how to use their network. You have to be somebody who has to be real. Like, this is what I can do today, and this is what I will do today. You have to be somebody, when it comes to entrepreneur, I'm going between the two. You have to be passionate, because the passion is the fuel that keeps you going. Like I said, there are characteristics. I know you say this is for women, and I'm very passionate about discussions on women. That's why I'm here today. But it's something that permeates both genders, right? And like I said, it is about being someone who takes calculated risks. There's a lot. But the other thing, having said all that, interestingly, you need to know how to take each day as it comes. Because some people, they want to start from the top and work their way up. It doesn't work like that. Take each day.
Start from the top and work their way up.
Yes, we that's another talk show.
Okay.
Right? But, look at where you are. And, sometimes we need to pat ourselves on the back for what we have done, how far we've come. But also, we're still in this, and we can do this together. Together, we can win. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it takes a lot, and we can do it.
Okay.
Let me.
It takes a lot, and we can do it. Regina, would you agree?
I definitely agree that we can definitely do it, and it takes a lot. I wanted to circle back to what you asked earlier. If we're looking specifically at the female entrepreneurship landscape, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the key things that you'll have to, that is factual. So, female entrepreneurs are over-mentored and underfunded, right? So, there was a
Oh,
recent, yes.
wait. Bring that back. Bring that back.
So, female entrepreneurs are over-mentored and underfunded. So
Wow.
what that means is that, there are lots of programs and initiatives to support female entrepreneurs, which is great. But at the end of the day, I mean, you will still need some type of funding to take your idea or your business to the next level. And when you look at the access to funding for female startups on the continent, especially, there was a decline in 2021. So there was a report that was done, and there's definitely a bias, right? So there was a report that was done by an organization called Brita with the World Bank, and it showed that out of if all female founding teams got $1 in funding, all male funding teams got over $200 in funding, right?
Wow.
Yes. So there's also that gap, when it comes to the amount of capital and investment that female entrepreneurs get. So you see, and traditionally, you have a lot more females in the informal sector, right? So they run great businesses, but these are micro or small businesses. And, there is sort of lack of proper information, or more so like you calculate your risks so much that you want to play it safe. And then also not fully understanding, like, how do you formalize your business and what additional things comes with when you formalize your business. You have sometimes they'll have to rely on somebody else because it's like, it seems a lot. Also, this speaks to the environment. I mean, there isn't right? This is the same,
Yeah.
it's very hard for investors to come and invest in your business if it is a one woman. You haven't balanced your books, you don't have any legal documents. I mean, it will be very difficult to attract funding. So you may have a great idea, your business may be running on the ground, but if you haven't checked all the boxes for when an investor comes to do due diligence, then it isn't going to happen for you, right? And you have other things like, the family components and perception components, managing teams. In our society, as a female entrepreneur, there is this notion, if you are being the boss, and depending on who you are being the boss to, you are either being the bee, or you are emotional, or there are all these negative connotations that go with assertiveness. When you speak your mind, when you are confident, if you are in a room and then you even increase the tone of your voice to 2 decibels up, like for men it's like, oh, what a bold industrious man. For women it's like, hey, who is this no person? And there are all these things that go, if a woman wants to come out of her box and and be confident in a space that people are not used to that. There's also the negotiation piece, because also there's a challenge with how we are socialized early on. A good girl doesn't ask for more. If your mother gives you 2 loaves of bread, you take it and you smile and say thank you. You don't say, ma, but why did you give me 2? Now it's changing. But when we were growing up, it was like you are grateful. So and even how, and men are expected to go out there. So it's fine. They learn how to negotiate on different things because they're expected to be able to go out, compete, and win. But when it comes to negotiation, that is an art form that we have to break out of. How do you negotiate effectively as a female, knowing very well that when you go into the negotiation table, most often than not, the number of zeros has already reduced once you came in as a female. I mean, we see it in real life happening in different cases. So we had one example where a woman went to bid for a contract. They gave her a lower zero, so she wasn't happy. So she gave that contract to a male business. When he went in, his zero started higher even before the negotiation.
Wow.
Right? And I remember even in my journey when I started out, you know, I didn't know anything about contracts. I thought I could trust people by their word. You know, that thing is like I was building software for clients, and then I would go in, we would have a nice conversation. I didn't know like, oh, I must come in with an agreement and all of that. And then when it came to time for payment, they'll be like, ah, but you are a small girl. What will you use all this money for? You know, so you have to make sure that you go in and check all the different boxes and come in with your agreements. You know, don't take people just at their word, because I mean, different things happen. And then also we need to see more women in these male dominated spaces, because this is where there is higher, you know, money, right? So we need to see a shift in women just operating in the traditionally female sort of businesses and come into the more male dominated spaces, because I mean, that's where there are also high income earning spaces. So we need to see more women entering more into those spaces so they can benefit from that. And I think the last piece is one of the things that we've discovered engaging with female, and even for my own journey, is the imposter syndrome, right? So success, and whatever success looks like, or whatever it means for the female entrepreneur, comes in different shapes and forms. But she's definitely going to go through this imposter syndrome where she feels that, you know, it's going to end, you know, like it's just something that's coming in and it's not going to last for long. And so she wants to mostly stay comfortable once there is some type of success. But in order to grow, you must take big risk. And I mean, in our terrain, you must calculate that risk, like Lady Sam said. But also, you know, you must come out of your shell and push yourself. So I had to learn that, you know, I had to learn how to negotiate. I had to build my confidence, and I had to increase my risk appetite in order to do well. So when I started getting comfortable, I was like, no, I need to move, you know, and then keep pushing myself. So it isn't easy. We can definitely do it, but these are all the different challenges, you know, for female entrepreneurs.
That come with it. Wow, thank you for that, Regina. That's a lot to unpack. But there are two things that I wanted to ask you about, Lady Sam. And this is from your life coaching point of view. So she talked, Regina talked about good girls don't ask for more. And then she talked about the imposter syndrome. So let's start with a good girls don't ask for more, and this mindset that women are supposed to be satisfied with, you know, a certain level of success, or a certain level or a certain definition of, you know, what should be and what shouldn't be, and how do we change that? And then after that, I mean, you can share your thoughts on what she said, and the imposter syndrome as well.
There's even a lot more. I'm sure you heard me, Regina, when I was grunting a lot. You're just relating to a lot of what you had said. So if I take the first part, let me take it from the point of view on some of the clients that I see who are females. And yes, there is this conflict that you see visibly. Now, remember, a life coach is somebody who helps somebody to reach their goal quicker than what they would themselves. We don't prescribe the remedy. What we do is have conversations and draw out questions and even answers from the person, so they actually find the answers themselves. And what I have found in my experience in these conversations, that some of these women, you know, would say, okay, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of their family setup, conversations, the narrative that was, you know, that happened in the family setup, even in the school setup, the narrative. So it's conditioned their mind to think a certain way. Now, how do you overcome that? Because you know you want to achieve this and you actually think you can, but what you've been told is this is your level. Can I put it that way?
Yeah.
Can I put it this way? And so you will have conversations. Some of them, actually I can think of two, who have gone for maybe assertive training. These are practical things that they do. Maybe, you know, you may not have the money, but the thing is you have so much access to information online. What we can do, and what I did actually when I became a life coach, is I looked at those who are in a position that I want to be and see how I can emulate them. Maybe I can read up on them. Maybe they've written a book, I'll read about them. These are practical things and accessible things that you can do to help get you from where you are, from where you need to get to. Because remember, it's a mindset. a mindset, and the mindset can change with the right information. We have a particular mindset because of the information we have stored.
Yeah.
So now we have to find a way to change or retune the mindset. So it's the information that you get access to. I'm a person, by the way, my background is also communications. I love speaking, eh? So for someone like me, it's not hard. But for some of the people who have this barrier, it can be quite tough
Yeah.
to unpack it, because they don't even realize that they are thinking, for some, they don't even realize they're thinking a particular way. And then to get to that, why are you thinking that way?
Yeah.
Right? So it's about having the conversation. But once the realization is there, once they have that realization, like I said, is then taking it to the next step. Does it mean having a class? Does it mean having conversation? Does it mean, and by the way, I have to be careful because I'm not a psychotherapist. And there's a distinct difference between a
Of course.
psychotherapist and a life coach, because a psychotherapist can take you there, can talk to you about past trauma, etc., past hurt. That is not my role. And maybe from the conversation, I'll post them there. But maybe from the conversation, they will realize they need to speak to a particular person who limited their beliefs. I hope you get my point. Limited their beliefs. I mean, as we always say, the first way to, or the first, now the saying is gone, but you know, when you're talking about to solve a solution, at least you first have to recognize there's a problem. So if you identify there's a problem, or challenge, or whatever word you want to use, that is the first step. And it's from getting from there to the solution. Of course, that's where we come in. And like I said, we don't have an excuse now. We have so much resources, you know, that is available at our fingertips. We're living, as they say, Regina, I'm sure you can buttress this point. Are we not living in the information age? There's so much information available to us at our fingertips. And it's there. So it's really, like I said, it's the mindset. Do you want to? It's the willingness, right? And once the willingness there, then the following steps are easier. So that's what I say. It is a process, but you have to be determined and disciplined to follow this process.
The process.
Yes.
I mean, so I get what you're saying, and especially, you know, where you talk about the fact that some of these beliefs will have to be tackled by professionals who, you know how to tackle these beliefs, because you can only go as far as your mind will let you. So I get that. But, I mean, there's also the pressures that we face in society about success, about a woman's success and the perception of success. So let me start with Regina, and then we'll come back in studio. I mean, so Regina, so let's talk about the perception of success, and should I say the price that you pay for being successful as a woman, even looking successful as a woman. There's almost a certain price you pay for it. You know, either you have people, you know, talking about your marriage or your children, or, you know, the usual, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. The usual.
Don't get me started, but
the usual thing.
I know, right? The usual.
Usual, which men never get asked, which is very annoying. But yeah, so I mean, is the price still there? Are we still paying a price in that way? And even with all the moving forward and the information at our fingertips and all of that part of society hasn't really changed, has it?
No, I mean, we still. We're making, I always have to say we're making progress, but you know, there is still that a lot of people that pressure, and then the price that you have to pay for, you know, success or the perception of success. So, I mean, the marriage conversation is definitely one that comes in. I remember early on in my career, before I got married, I could even go and talk at workshops or in sessions, and then the first question is, are you married? And you can tell that as soon as I say no, it's like, okay, you know, it's like to be a successful woman, you pick either or. It's your career or family. It's like having both is, you know, unheard of. Up till now, you know, sometimes, you know, my husband maybe asks like, oh, okay, oh, so you're married to Regina. Oh, like how do you manage her? You know, how are you able to?
How do you manage her like you are a head
Yes,
of
yes.
cattle?
And I don't know if they
How
feel
do
like
you
I'm
manage
beating
the
him
cows?
here, if I'm beating him here or what's happening,
Oh, that's a good one.
and and and, and, and it's you still have, and then I remember when I had my first and only daughter, and I was still traveling. I had a woman that came to me and was like, oh, okay, oh, China, nice to meet you. Oh, you are a traveling mother, like I am almost implying that I didn't have enough time for my daughter because it's like I choose to be all over the place. And then the question of, oh, when are you going to have the next one? Settle down and stop all this all over the place. And there's always like a group of people that feel that, okay, if a woman attains some level of success, that means she's choosing one over the other. In the beginning, I tried to be the perfect everything, the perfect CEO, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect sister. Is not possible. So I stopped guilt tripping myself about it. And then I do what I can. In the moment, I'm the perfect that. So if I'm with my daughter, I try my best to be
The perfect
my
mother.
best in that moment. If I'm at work, I try my best to be my best in that moment, And if some things don't go well, it's fine. Some balls drop, it's fine. But you will still have that perception. And I think that's the narrative. One of the things we get a lot because we work with women and girls in technology is, you have the men say, hey, that if my daughter goes into tech, first, how will she find a husband? Like, she's behind the computer. So instead of going out there, she's going to be socially awkward. That's the perception. And obviously, to find a husband is the prize of, so we tell them that, look, the world has changed. Now there's online dating. In fact, behind the computer, she has a choice of men. She doesn't even need to go out there and
Go
be
out there,
struggling.
yeah. She can just swipe left, swipe right.
Exactly. She can swipe left and she can put in her descriptors, whatever she wants, and find somebody. Or you have people that are against, the movement, the women empowerment movement, and they say like, it's going to break the fabric of families when a woman is empowered because
But a man having a side chick doesn't break the fabric of society.
It's like now
I said I was going to
she can
behave.
speak her mind, and as if that is, I don't know, it's like their mind goes far. So we have these sessions where we talk to men also, and it's like they can't imagine a world where all women are equal and empowered. It's like, no, like how would the family, how would the family fabric work?
How will it work indeed?
So it's still a lot of people that feel that a woman has to be successful, but to a point,
yeah,
so that she can still be respectful to her husband, so that she can still manage the home, so it's like so that she won't control her husband, so that is also the other thing,
yeah,
right? And so you have some people that will say, okay, you can be successful, but not too much, because you may not find a man, or you may not keep a family, or you cannot stay married, and all those different things. But everybody's story is different, and I feel like it's not a general case. There are definitely successful women that have families, and all of that. And there are some successful women that have a different choice. It's all up. Once again, I think it goes back to choice. We don't have to prescribe what is the perfect definition of a woman. If a woman chooses either or, it's her choice. For me, it's always about choice, right? So if she chooses family and career, fine. If she chooses just family, fine. If she chooses just career, fine. But it still always has to be the woman's choice.
Okay, got that. Wow. Okay, yeah, just go
No, I need to say something because Anima, by asking that question, it triggered something in me, and then with Regina's submission, then it triggered more things in me. I'm a woman who's in her 40s, and when I go out to family events, it's I mean, I love my family, but I once had an uncle who said to me, this was some years ago, are you a lesbian or a nun? Nothing against either, but why do I have to be any?
Oh, wow.
Right? And this is the thing. It is almost as if I wasn't strong and sassy, right? I'll say it again. If I wasn't strong and sassy, or wasn't confident in myself, it would make me start questioning myself and start entering into, a particular situation I shouldn't be because of this perception. So do I have to be in a relationship? Do I have to be married? And maybe God has that for me at a particular age, a particular time. But am I not? And I'm not asking myself a question because that's not what I think, but this is how people perceive you if you're not married at a certain age, you don't have children. And these are the things that make people end up in the wrong situations. I'm sorry, that is not my portion. I want to speak to somebody today. Don't end up in the wrong situation because of that, in quotation marks, perception or pressure. So when you said that, I just went back to that conversation. I mean, we've moved on from then, but I know a few single ladies who are beautiful, who are established, doing well, according to them, because you also asked the question earlier on about success, and then I wanted to ask, but who defines success? What actually is success?
Yeah.
Right? Because my definition of success
could be very different from
your definition, right? So at the end of the day, well, this is where my faith comes in. For me, Samantha, I am answerable to God, right? And He leads and order my steps. So He will define
what your success is.
Exactly.
Right.
Not man, not woman, because today you are wonderful and fantastic, and the very next day, the same person, you're not.
Exactly.
Right? So, sorry, I just had to she saw me bubbling here by some of the things Regina said.
Yeah.
Yes, that triggered me. And I thought it's very important. Please I want to say it to people, don't put that pressure on people. We all have our journey. We all have our destination.
Timelines.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We all have our timelines, and let's just make sure we stay on our path. And and another thing is about this perception. Well, it's possibly another area, but I think I also need to say this. We're living in an age now when we talk about this success. For example, if you look on social media, again, if you look at the narrative people put out there, remember, social media, everybody is an editor, right?
Yeah, editor, armchair psychologists, armchair doctors, armchair judges. Everybody has something.
And it's a creative story. I create content, right? And I can tell you it takes a lot of takes to come up with a video or even a picture.
Yeah.
And so when you look at those people on social media, I'm talking about perception, by the way. This is what I'm speaking to. When you look at these people, my question I would ask you is, do you know how many takes it takes for them to come up with that video or to come up with that picture? It is a created life. It is a story people have put out there. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. You want to sell or tell the best story.
The best version of yourself,
yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I also want people to know, these are the viewers, to know that when you're looking at it, don't be too swayed by what you see, because sometimes what you see is not actually what you're seeing. It's what somebody, it's not
wants
the
you to see.
Exactly.
I just to pitch in, I discovered a great way to deal with the when are you getting married, when are you having children question, because I read it was actually on the internet or something, but I tried it once and the reaction was amazing.
What was it?
So this old man he was actually asking my sister that you're getting old, or so when are you going to get married? And I asked her, I was like, well, we're waiting for your funeral, hopefully we'll meet some husbands there and then we could get I was like, oh no, this is not a very nice thing to say. I was like, yeah, well, since we're all waiting for these milestones, your obvious one is your funeral, so
you didn't hear from him. You didn't ask again.
But the thing is, and I know that it sounds rude and maybe even sounds cruel, but that's how cruel it is for women who, and let's be honest, there's some women who are very successful and are just completely happy being single. There's that. There's also women who are very successful and even in their success feel the deficit. And, at night would ask themselves, that the women who are not even, and let's also be honest about the fact that not all women were created the same. So then women who are not even, maybe as this as me or as that as me or as that as me, so why do I struggle? I'm not affirming that these are the right things to say. I'm just saying that realistically, these are some of the things that people ask themselves. So can you imagine if you met somebody who was having that kind of struggle, and then you would continue to pass these comments and make it seem like, well, you could be Ghana's, I don't know, Jeff Bezos or whatever, but until you have that husband or those kids, then nothing that you've achieved is enough.
I mean, who gave them the power? I believe in the power of the tongue. Who gave people the power to say shit? And that's it. It goes back to the point I made earlier on, that people have some limiting beliefs. Where did they come from? Sometimes it is from conversations that have been had from their childhood, maybe somebody who's close in their life. You understand? So, so the reason why I'm talking about perception, because look at, what is the topic today? Women entrepreneurs, break loose or keep fighting. So for me, it's a no-brainer. You keep fighting.
And then you don't,
Right, because if you look at, sometimes what you see, it can sway you, right? And this, when you really speak to some people, you'll find that it's not that they don't think they can do well or they're on the right path. It's because of the other paths or other people that they've looked at that has swayed them. This perception, that this thing that they're seeing and perceiving. And I think that we all need to focus on our journey, because we all have our own journey.
Yeah. I get that. I want to ask, Regina, let me ask you a question, and maybe I'm hoping that you'd be 100% honest with me. I was talking to a friend the other day who was talking about the fact that she's married, but she has her own business. She doesn't tell anybody that she's married. She doesn't wear her wedding ring when she's going to work, and just really keeps her marriage private, because she says, you know what, it's actually better for me in the business world. Men are nicer to me when they think I'm not married, and therefore they're being nice, or they're opening of doors, whatever will lead them to a certain reward, which is a no-go, if you come first with the fact that you're married. Do you think that you don't get what I'm saying?
I get
Yeah,
it.
no,
I've just not heard it.
Okay, if you
before,
get it,
but
then let me ask the
I
question.
I get it.
Do you think that sometimes actually being married makes it a bit more difficult to be in business?
So once again, I think my answer to that is it depends, right? If you are in a certain business where you are customer facing a lot, or you may have some people that may hold back because they have ulterior motives. And once they see that maybe they can't get what they want, but now actually what I feel is that it doesn't even really matter, married or not married. If a guy wants to try, he's going to try, right? If you feel that maybe, no, seriously, I
Christian,
don't think,
you're dancing, really?
no, I don't think, because I have been in certain situations where it doesn't bother them. Like, he's gonna try. If you let him off, fine. But if maybe there's a chance that you may want to get it on, even if you're married. So I don't think that necessarily holds them back. But will some women use the fact that they are single to be able to get a little bit further? I believe that there are some women that feel that they have to do that. And there are some instances whereby if you don't do that, sometimes, some people may not give you the full treatment, but it's still all about choices. I mean, I think now the way the world is going, especially in today's world, it doesn't matter. So just, she should wear her ring, because if the guy is going to hit on her, he will, and if he feels that if she was single, he could do more, he's still going to try. So and you have to pick the right people. So also, do you want to be doing business with that kind of character? Because you see, you have to look at the long game. Business is about relationships. So sometimes, Kwan, it's good that you cut your ties from people that are not the right kind of people that you should be doing business with, and then find better relationships that will bring you value in the long run. you know. So she should wear a ring. When
Hey, Regina, you they preach with you.
And if her husband wasn't, if her husband did the same thing, what would happen?
Well, is he not doing it?
Is he?
I don't
maybe
know.
Maybe you're telling me something, but I'm just wondering, if her husband did the same thing, then what would happen?
I don't know. We'd have to ask her. But I think that the climate, and also because of the power play, I don't think that, I don't want to say that men don't face the same sort of challenge. I'm sure that they do on a certain level. But I mean, you know what it's like. Yeah, I mean, like, let's just be real. Like, you know what it's like. Like, you do know what it's like.
And
right?
yeah,
I'm just saying that she's not wearing the ring because she believes it will help her in a particular situation. And I'm saying that if she found out her husband said, you know, I don't wear my ring because it helps me, you understand?
She may be fine with it. I mean, if it brings the money home, well, you know.
Okay.
I mean, you never know. But Regina, you were saying something?
No, I was saying that, you know, yes, all these things happen. Some women have to use whatever it is to get ahead and all of that. But like I'm saying now, you know, there's more opportunity, there are more avenues. So you don't necessarily have to go down some path if you don't want to. What I realized in my own journey is that when some doors closed, bigger doors opened. You know, so now I've come out of that thinking of, okay, I may necessarily have to pursue this. I will use another channel. So like, and yes, you will always have that individual or that woman that feels, just to make things easier, she needed to maybe pump her breast a little bit, you know, suck in her tummy a little bit, you know, sashay her hips a little bit, just to get where she needed to go. But I feel like now, Crown, you don't need to bother yourself. There are so many other avenues. Just look for another pathway.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff. You agree?
You know, I hear you, Regina. That's what I'll say.
That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we just have a few minutes to go. Maybe I can do some messages. Okay. So thank you for all your messages and for getting interactive with us. I'm just gonna go through some of your messages. Okay. I saw somebody coming to look for a fight with me this evening. So it's the days that I decide that I'll be good. Okay. Good evening. Are you proudly telling us that you were that rude to someone your father's age? Like, serious? I don't think it was rude. I think if you ask somebody who's in their 40s when they're getting married, it's fair to ask somebody who's in their 80s if we can start planning for their funeral. That's how we feel about it. And you know what? It's time we actually start thinking about the things that we say to people. And if there's somebody in your family who is like that, somebody has to call them to bring them to book. I'm sorry. So I wasn't rude. I was actually smiling. Please, I haven't finished reading the message. Or let me finish reading the message. That's particular one. I'm honestly against people who ask that. It's really unacceptable because I'm a little advanced in age and not married. I agree with you. The second part of your sentence, I don't. I'm not teaching people to be rude to the elderly, but I am teaching people to stand up for themselves and be assertive. So thank you very much for that, Otum 4K from Medina. Okay, I'm all for it, ladies. Honestly, my fiance is a nurse who wants to become a dietitian. I keep telling her she's too brilliant. I'm 100% in support and ready for to be there for her to achieve her dreams. Sometimes she asks exactly what is it I see in her that I keep pushing her further now. I want her to succeed. Okay, I can't wait for her to mount a platform to address an audience. I'll be in the VIP, and when she's introduced and everyone is clapping for her, I'll smile and say, "That's my wife." Okay, now, okay. That's a very vivid description of what you're hoping for. But I mean, it's good. Support is good. Hello, Nima. Interesting topic. I'm loving the submissions. Renee Adodoas, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, can we have some more, please? Okay. So thank you for texting in. And yes, I know that the MP for Medina is trending, and there's been a lot going on in Medina these days. It's quite the hub. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. So do you guys just want to finish up for us? Regina, so just, your closing submissions on really whether we should break loose or whether we should keep fighting.
Okay, so just as a sort of word of encouragement, right? Like I am an observer to an initiative called Women in Finance, which is housed by the World Bank, and there is like a lot of funding going in for female entrepreneurs. So they are looking at the funding gap. So now is the perfect time to be a female entrepreneur. If you have an idea, there's anything that you want to do, I think the timing couldn't be any better, because now there is more interest in, support for female entrepreneurs. There is more funding going to be made available. There are all these different, accelerators, incubators. There are all these different initiatives. We run several initiatives geared towards women and supporting women at different stages. So I think this is the perfect time. So don't limit yourself. Mute that voice that tells you can't do it, and step out of your comfort zone. Because if you ever thought about, starting something, but entrepreneurship is also not for everybody. So look at what works best for you. So my message is not everybody should be an entrepreneur. My message is do what works for you.
Okay.
Right? So look at your situation. If entrepreneurship is the pathway that you feel you want to go, that's fine. If you want to work for an organization, if you want to freelance, if you want to be in the content creation space, just look at what you are interested, passionate about, and find what is the right fit for you. But if you are thinking about entrepreneurship, I think the timing is good for you. So I would encourage you to start.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Regina, or Regina, as as Lady Samantha calls you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's about you? What would you say? Break loose or keep fighting?
Okay. I think I alluded to this earlier on, so I'll repeat what I said before. Definitely keep fighting. Fighting is a part of life, and that's why I made the illustration earlier on about how many times the word fight appears in the Bible. 170 times. This is what I was told, and I did a bit of research to verify.
Okay.
So basically, the word fight comes up so many times because it's a part of life. Fighting means struggling, but also overcoming. So I believe that if you believe in what you're doing, then you stay in your lane, you keep fighting. Even if you fall down, you get back up. If you fall down again, you get back up again. You keep getting back up. And I believe that once you persist and you are consistent, because that's a conversation I'm having recently on my content.
Persistence and
consistency. Because these are things like the entrepreneurs we've mentioned earlier on today. Yes, they are males, but we still can learn from them, like Richard Branson. That actually the opportunities came from the failures and the falling down, because when you fall down, you learn something, you get back up, and you go with your new knowledge. So I'll tell you to keep fighting. I don't think you actually have a choice, because no matter which area you find yourself in life, you find there's a struggle.
Yeah, always.
So
always. All right. So that's all that we have for you today. But I basically, keep fighting. You'll get there. And thank you so much to Regina for joining us this evening, and to you, Lady Sam. Always appreciate it when you guys take time off to be here with us. Really appreciate that. Fred Smith is bringing us the news at 8 o'clock. Thank you to Abegs and the team for all the hard work and the dancing and the keeping us company. Yeah, you should really watch us on Facebook. There's always so much going on in the studio. My name's Animwaa Anim-addo. We'll do this again next week, Wednesday at 7. Here's Fred Smith.
Yeah, I had to face my struggles too. Well, coming up in the headlines, the Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate has announced plans to
Greater Accra region, because this is Greater Accra region. This is the first time that we are giving out the Moderna vaccine. Since we started in March, like I said,